A lot of fun Syndras, right? Okay, so the combat roles theory, has applied properly in 3 out of 3 games we watched tonight. Because, like, in the Crusaders game 1, we watched how, like, we identified everyone's roles. They were a little complex. Everyone had a list of priorities, and we watched that as those priorities were fulfilled, they started winning fights, and as they weren't, they lost, right? And then in game 2, with the Razorbacks Hammerheads game, we saw that Razorbacks had like some really impossible to fulfill combat roles because the Camille like fundamentally breaks their front to back that they were trying to run. And so Trundle's job was basically impossible. Now they're all scattered. Nobody has responsibilities that synergize with each other. They can't play the game. And then we see the easiest roles ever, where every champion on this team has literally one thing they must do, right? Like Syndra is basically just burst into backline DPS. The MF was just backline DPS. The Maokai was like just disengage with secondary follow-up. The Aatrox was just frontline DPS, right? Everyone had one role. It was super easy. There was no redundancy. The list of priority targets is obvious, and it becomes stupid easy to play, and they win. Like, if I can internalize this and get faster at identifying everyone's roles, this is immediate improvement. This system is working. This system is actually working, which is huge. Huge. So now, because I play a lot of champions where the primary objective is empower, where question 1 is which of your teammates' objectives is the most important to achieve in this moment, meaning I have to know everybody else's objectives a lot, and I also have to know, like, when objectives say, like, you should not receive help from your teammates. Like, that means this is really important for me. Because then I'm allowed to make proactive calls more. And I'm allowed to say, guys, I want to enhance X champion to do Y task specifically. That's what I need to play for. Oh, it's big. It's big. We made a breakthrough. We made a breakthrough. We made a big breakthrough. It's working. Oh, oh, is there a 2 in there? Okay, so I've been using my hotkeys for OBS in here. Yeah. That's funny. I've been using my Twitch hotkeys, right? Like, it's a number pad thing, so I guess I just dumped something in there. Yeah, ADC, Mel... 80 carry players are so spoiled because their job is like the same thing almost every time, right? It's just this. And sometimes you might be and there's a few of them where maybe your primary objective is dive, and maybe your primary objective is catch, and maybe your primary objective is like burst, right? Maybe. But basically every 80 carry has like just this, and it's so easy to default to. 22, 12, and 23, and you went 1, 2. Ouch. Ouch. Or follow for Jhin. Yeah, that's true. This is actually really good for Jhin. And then it's like, because his core combo is like priority 1, follow up, priority 2, backline DPS, right? Yeah. And it just seamlessly weaves between those goals. Yeah, Melly, that hurts. That's painful. That's a painful experience. Yeah, well, we realized we were missing this when it became clear that Trundle's entire job was stop misfortune. And then I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm playing Soraka into Samira. My entire job, like, my core objective, #1 priority is Equinox, the Samira ultimate. Right? Like, that's the most important thing I have in this entire game to do. And I'm the one who should be doing it. So in that case, Soraka's priorities in a game like that would be, like, #1, interrupt, #2, empower. Right? Which, you can argue, like, healing and shielding actually belongs in Peel instead. And it kind of does, a little bit. I should actually rephrase this. Remove and mitigate threats from your backline. And then there's a lot of these combat roles that, like, really only apply to assassins. Like, if you're playing Zed, you're not real... I mean, like... Burst is an important one, but, like, ultimately you're probably lurking or shadowing someone. And if you're side laning, then that's not a combat objective, that's your macro objective. because this is all micro. Right? But it worked! It worked! It worked! It completely worked! It answered every question we had! Like, oh! Every one of them! It worked! It was like completely ironclad, except for the missing interrupt condition. But like, oh, that's so exciting. That's so exciting. It worked. This concept is real. Like, ah. I'm so happy about that. I'm so happy. One of the best league. Well, I'm not there yet, right? I am not, in terms of actual skill, I am platinum. But I've had people tell me that, like, if I actually improve my out-of-game knowledge enough, that I could probably coach a challenger. Like, and I doubted them. I really did. I really did doubt them. But if I can I figured this out in like 2 days. I did most of this yesterday. So I'll show you guys what happened. I'll show you guys what happened and how I figured this out. Okay? So we had a game in the VRS the other day, where I picked Fiddlestick support. And we had some like really bad situations, right? I picked it because I was really confident in the interactions. There were very positive interactions that I failed to execute on, and it was also not the right situation for this game because we had an Ashe AD carry, and that means that picking Fiddlesticks with like Syndra Shyvana imposes too much magic damage on our comp, like without enough physical to discourage magic resist, right? I violated my own principles, like in my own magic damage video. Speaking of, I put 5 months into this. Please watch it. But anyway, what helped me figure this out is right here. We had this situation, right? Where I'm lurking, I got chased out of this spot right here by Camille, right? Or by Akali. And so, but like and then we're telling our Camille to like just fight this, and then I'm going to supplement this, right? Boom, let's help. But this doesn't work. Wow, that didn't work at all. What the hell happened? We did some VOD review, and they're like, oh, Quinn, like, what if you were just, like, what if you were contributing right here instead? And then it doesn't even matter if we, like, execute the fear, right? I have a fear extension ready. I have my flash. Imagine if I'm here, right? And so I thought about it. I'm like, well, what's Camille actually doing? Because I've been working on micro objectives for a little bit, but I only had a vague concept. And I know Camille, like, she makes for a really solid flank initiator, right? And then I realized, like, well, obviously she's not flanking anybody here. She's not even initiating for our team. She's marking Akali. She's playing anti-flank. I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you're playing a mark champion, because I already had some of the initiation questions. If you're playing a mark champion, do you need help? Like, are you supposed to get help? And then I realized, like, wait, I could just categorize every possible, like, thing, every possible job you can have. And you can list them in priorities because I'm like, oh, fuck, Camille's is really variable. Camille's changes based on the situation she's in. So we lost this game, first of all, in part because I should be playing Gragas this game, so as to not impose, like, restrictions on, or to, like, to not impose pressure on my magical carries through magic resist itemization. But also, it's like, we also lost this game because I just fundamentally did not understand what our objectives were, what our micro objectives are, like, I'm supposed to lurk here, right? I'm supposed to lurk. I'm obviously a lurker. I'm not shadowing Camille. I'm not helping her. I am lurking for an opportunity here because she is marking. She's 1v1. Talking about this. The light switch went off. And I got this list out of it. Well, I mean, kind of, but it's not even like, it's not an archetype thing, right? So I don't think Magic the Gathering deck colors really work. It's just some tasks should not receive help. And I even wrote, like, if you're marking somebody, you should only receive help if you can't win your 1v1, or it's like, hey, if we just turn on this guy, they can't answer. Right. So no, I think it is very different from Magic the Gathering deck colors, and in fact, like, it would be closer to apply that to team comp archetypes, like here. I'm not listening to this sound anymore. Bye-bye. But it's like, losing that Fiddlesticks game opened the floodgates. Like, obviously, I know how to get rid of magic damage, like, problems. I released the whole video on it. I just failed to think about it. But, and no, frankly, a lot of people know stuff like this, but they know it's, like, implicitly. I don't think most players create lists like this in their head. They just implicitly know what their job is. But I wanted something like this because utility champions really have to coordinate. Like, I've been talking to my top laner on Oblivion Ruby a lot. Like, the day that I figured out that peel and disengage are different things, I'd said to him, I'm like, well, okay, so we've actually got to figure out who does what in every game, right? Because one of us is better at peel and one of us is better at disengage. I'm like, knowing who's doing what in advance, because we know our jobs like this, just prevents us from layering cooldowns, because we have a problem with that. So then, here we go. Now you have jobs. Now you have it is literally lineup theory. It is exactly lineup theory, which is a card game concept that every threat has an optimal response in your deck. It's so. Yeah. I can see that. I just think, based on my understanding of Legends of Runeterra, a deck and a team comp realistically are, like, 1-to-1 the same thing. I think it really works. Because if they are the same thing, then lineup theory applies. And if they are the same thing, then you can start using, like, attributes, which I'm also working on, like, and archetypes, which, you know, there's too many transferable concepts for me to not view a team comp as a deck. Yeah, okay. It's just so exciting that this worked. It worked. And it also exposed why Sonic's front to back loses to the, like, Melly's flank team fight. It explained it perfectly. Oh my god.